May only your word be spoken, O Lord. May only your word be heard. Amen. Amen. Dang it, but I really don't like when things don't go the way I want them to go. I get that it's not my world, and I'm not in charge of everything, but if things in my life would just go the way I want them to all the time, and things in other people's lives would go the way I want them to, and things in the world would go the way I want them to, I would be so much more pleased. Life would be perfect, right? If only God would listen to me and respond exactly as I want God to respond. That would kind of make me God's master, though, which is a little problematic. Actually, it's completely problematic. If I'm in charge of the way God runs the world, then I've really taken God's place. So essentially, I'm God over everyone else, and that's hugely problematic. Because I don't think anyone really wants me to be God over them. I certainly don't want anyone else to be God over me, and I also don't really want to be God at all. That's a lot of responsibility. I mean, I definitely want things to go the way I want them to go, but I really don't want to be in charge of everything. We human-y type people tend not to be particularly good at playing God. Dictators, tyrants, warlords, all trying to force the world to go the way they want it to go, and usually end up killing a bunch of people and bringing a lot of misery into the world. Captains of industry, ultra-wealthy business leaders, and others who tend to try to make far too much of the world bend to their will. And while there's a lot of money to be made, there is usually a lot of people suffering because of the vast wealth made by a few. Not surprisingly, then, addicts are another group of people who try to force the world the way they want it to go. Maybe there's a connection there. It tends to work pretty terrible for them too, since the world is so terribly disobedient to the addict's desires. They drink or use drugs at the world. You won't do what I want, world? Well, I'll show you. Like I said, we human-y type people tend not to be particularly good at playing God. Saul, the first king of Israel, tried playing God, and unsurprisingly, it worked out pretty badly for him. Saul was in a war against the Philistines, and when he and the people of Israel saw how huge the Philistine army was, they were terrified. Now, God had told Saul that he was with him and not to worry about threats from others. But when Saul saw the people of Israel retreating in fear, he decided to make a sacrifice to God, rather than waiting for Samuel to do it, which is what he was supposed to do. And that wasn't good. Saul was not supposed to be making sacrifices. Samuel was. So this meant that Saul was trusting in the sacrifice rather than trusting in God. Saul was putting himself in God's place, trying to force things to go the way he wanted them to go, rather than letting go of those things that he couldn't control. He couldn't control when Samuel arrived. He couldn't control the fact that Samuel was late. So a faithful response would have been to offer prayers to God, placing the outcome in God's hands, trusting in God's promise to him, rather than trying to force God to give them victory through sacrifice, right? I killed the animal on the altar. You've got to do what I want now. Saul was trying to control God, and therefore trying to put himself in God's place. So after a few more incidents like that, God rejected Saul as king. Then it was Samuel's time to be tempted to play God. Samuel was grieving over the rejection of Saul as king, grieving over the many ways that Saul had failed as king. God, we're told, grieved for a time as well. sorry that he had made Saul king over Israel. Before long ago, God was ready to move on. God wanted Samuel to go and God wanted Samuel to go and anoint a new king over Israel, but Samuel was still grieving. "How long will you grieve over Saul?" God asked. "I have rejected him from being king over Israel. Fill your horn with oil and set out to anoint the one I will show you to be king over Israel." In other words, God was saying to Samuel, let it go, man. I've got other plans. New life will spring up from this death. Don't fight it. Go with it into an unknown future, trusting that I am with you in this. Now, it is a bit much to say that Samuel was trying to play God in his grief over Saul. And at the same time, God did need to remind him to let the past go and to move forward into an uncertain future. Saul was mourning for an imagined future with Saul as king, a future that never actually existed. But whatever he thought the future was going to be, it was suddenly gone. I'm guessing most of us have mourned the loss of many imagined futures throughout our lives. We lose a job and the future we thought we had is suddenly gone. A family member or a friend dies and a future life with them is gone. We get attacked or beaten and the future we thought we had is now darkened with fear and trauma. Our nation goes to war, and any number of possible futures are thrown into chaos. Anytime those things happen, we are going to mourn the loss of those possible and imagined futures. And of course we do. And I figure God mourns with us, loving us as God does. Our challenge is not to stay there grieving the loss of that future that we thought we might have. When we stay forever in that place of grief and will not let go of that imagined future, we are in that place like Samuel was, where we're not exactly playing God, but we kind of are, because we refuse to let go of what we have lost, longing for something that cannot be. If only this had happened or not happened. If only God had done what I wish that God had done, things would have gone differently. That's when we get into the "I could have done better than you, God" territory, and we kind of are longing to take God's place. So God says to us what God said to Samuel, let it go. I've got other plans. A new life will spring up from this death. Don't fight it, just go with it into an unknown future, trusting that I am with you. Now, another way that we play God is when we sorrow at the loss of a longed-for past. In my day, we didn't do things like whatever old people complain about. And yes, I am sometimes one of those old people who complains about how things are nowadays. Sometimes we lament that we just don't get this new generation, or that people aren't doing things right. Kids are too noisy. Kids are too quiet. They should go outside and play more. What are all these kids doing running around outside? Don't they have parents? The schools aren't right. The music isn't right. People didn't used to do things like this, or at least they'd be decent enough to feel ashamed about it. Jesus healed a blind man. And that seems like obviously a good thing. Unless you were some of the religious folks back in the day when Jesus healed that blind man, and then you had complaints. Jesus shouldn't have healed you they said. For one thing, this was the wrong day to heal people. And for another thing, we never heard of anything like this before. Which is startlingly close to, in my day, we didn't heal people on Saturday. We let them suffer until Sunday like a good God-fearing person. And another thing, any decent person would know you can't have your sight restored if you were born blind. I just don't understand you kids these days. You must be a really terrible person for Jesus to have restored your sight. Their arguments amounted to, how dare Jesus heal you? No one has ever healed a man born blind. You're a sinner. You must be lying. The religious leaders wanted the past that they knew and understood to continue on, unchanged. God seemed nice and orderly in that past. The rules made sense, and those religious leaders were on the right side of those rules. Now with this new stuff that this carpenter's kid is doing, performing miracles like we haven't seen before, and even healing on the Sabbath, that comfortable past was turned upside down. We've continued with challenges like this in the church. And very often when some seemingly new thing happens in the church, groups of folks don't like it. And then there's a split, as one group stays with the way things were, and one group goes with this seemingly new thing that God is doing. In the Episcopal Church, we've had changes such as the new prayer book. The words that we use every Sunday are from the new prayer book. It's 47 years old. Almost half a century, but there are some folks who still won't use it because it's the new prayer book. We've had changes about things like allowing a person to get married after getting a divorce. It's only been 53 years since that change was made. A year after that change, we began ordaining women as bishops, priests, and deacons. A seeming change, because really that's how it was in the early church, before men decided that just wouldn't do. And then more recently, we've allowed homosexual people fully to participate in the life of the church. Each of these changes has turned the church upside down for some. And each of these changes has been a moment of Jesus healing the blind man for others. Each of these changes has left people mourning an imagined future in which things hadn't changed, and each of these has left people mourning the loss of a longed-for past. Through these and 1,000 other changes throughout the life of the church, we have always sought to remain faithful to Jesus. And through people's upset and struggle, longing for the past or mourning the loss of an imagined future, Jesus has been with us, saying, "Let it go. I've got other plans. New life will spring up from this death. Because we are people of resurrection, so don't fight it. Go with it into an unknown future, trusting that I am with you." For each of us personally then as well, our futures often die, and our pasts cease to be. And as much as we may want to play God at the time and force things to go back to what we want, none of us are God to force our way onto the world, thank God. And so God tells us, let it go. Mourn for a time, but let it go, for we are people of resurrection, and I have new plans and new life that will spring up from this death. So stop fighting it. Go with it into an unknown future, trusting that I am with you.